Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is part 12 of Let's Get Cooking, our cooking game mechanics series. On the last episode, which was, I apologise, very long, we actually got to use a knife to spread our jam and butter on our bread. Today we're going to move on to a recipe book, so where we can select our recipe, pin it, which later on we'll be using the pinned recipe to gather our ingredients, but at the moment it have no functionality at the moment. Once we select the recipe, it will then set the stages up as required so that we can go ahead and make our bread and jam, whereas before we have set them manually. Without further ado, let's get going. Just to show you what I mean about setting them manually, I'm going to go into our game items, our utensils, our butter knife, and look from our event finish spreading. You notice at the end of this event we've got this here, start new order, and in our kitchen manager we also have the same thing, so it's a hard set code. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our recipe book that sets this for us. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a load of UI, and to help us we're going to import some artwork. So in our UI and our artwork folder, just right click, point to current folder. There is a link to this artwork below, and for me it is YouTube Assets, Artwork. What we're going to be using today is the icon here, white check mark, the small chef, pin page, recipe book 3, the red check mark, slice of bread, and toast, the jam, and the toasted jam. So select all those, open them. We don't need, we do need the green check as well. My apologies. So all of those, open them up, and then right click on one of them, and Asset Actions. We're going to edit per property matrix, and we're going to click on our level of detail and make sure it's UI. Compression, should be default. Compression settings here should be default. Now, if you've got an older edition, you will see somewhere in here it would say user interface. If you don't, just use default, as long as it's got alpha. Okay. Click save them, and then you'll see that if we look back, we have our transparent backgrounds as required for our UI. That's the artwork we're going to be using today. Click back on your UI folder, and I'm just going to bring up my other project. We're going to be adding quite a few things, but what we're going to be doing is some of them are very similar. So we're going to make up one and then duplicate it. Let me just double check which ones are similar. Yes, okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our user interface. We're going to say widget blueprint, user widget, and we're going to call this WBT for widget, recipe book. Now, you can use your own naming convention as we've mentioned before. We're going to duplicate this one, and we're going to call this recipe page. then we are going to make another one where we can duplicate this again because they're empty. We'll duplicate this and we're going to call this ingredient line. And let's see how many of these we're going to need. Okay. And we're going to duplicate that again. And we're going to call this one WDG pinned recipe line. Okay. First things we're going to do is we're going to go up into our ingredients recipe line. We're going to make this and then we're going to duplicate it a couple more times because there's some that are very similar. They run slightly different codes, so it's easy to do it this way. So what are we going to need in this one? Let's double click to open it. And the first thing we're going to have is a size box. If I can spell, and we're going to drag that down to our size box. I'm going to hit desired on screen. This is going to go back to practically 0. But we're going to set this with a height override of 40. Okay, we don't really want to restrict the width because obviously names change. In this, we are going to add a horizontal box. And now we're going to add a text, the straightforward normal text. We're going to format our text. Now, I've gone with my fonts. I've gone with the font that I've been using throughout the game, which is this Yikes font, but obviously you choose your own choosing. Leave the size at 24. Color. I think I've lost the color that I had for some reason. Hang on, I can get it from here. So, the color I'm going to be using is FFB 550 FF. Color I like, and I'm actually going to make sure that that is in my color picker. They have changed this slightly. We used to get recent new thing. Okay, we've changed it, so we have to add it to the theme that way now. Okay, so we can keep that nice and handy. And we got that. We're going to name this one recipe name. And I'm going to call it TXT for differentiated for the text box. Make sure you click variable. And we're going to duplicate this. We're going to call this one quantity. And everything else should stay the same. Compile. You can just put some stuff in there, but let's just check our. Okay, so this one is set at fill and auto, and this one is set here in auto. So if we make it smaller, say 00. Oh, this one is there. This one is fill. Make sure your right one is there. And we've got a case of it there. Let me just check the padding. Okay, I've got 0 padding on both. Lovely job. Okay, now we've compiled that. We're going to go into our graph. And we're going to add 2 variables. First one is going to be quantity. That's going to be of type integer because we have whole numbers. We're going to make sure it's instant editable, expose and spawn. We're going to add another one. Oh, no, we don't want to add another graph. We're going to add another variable. And we're going to call this name of type text. Also instant editable, expose and spawn. Make sure these are ticked. You can always go back and tick them if you forget later. That's all we need to do for that. So you can go ahead, make sure you compile and save, close. And we're going to duplicate this. And this one's going to be called instruction line. No Ian's there. And we're going to duplicate it again. And we're going to call this one WP recipe line. Okay, so we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. And the last one is going to be, so we can duplicate any of these paged ones. Let's duplicate the recipe page. So empty at the moment. We're going to call this WBT underscore pinned widget. Okay, so the first one we're going to start with is we're going to start with a page because we need that as a reference when we do other stuff. Make sure you save everything. Go losing stuff. Okay. So we're going to start with our recipe page. We're going to double click to open that up. We've got quite a bit to add to this one. So first of all, we're going to add a size box. And we're going to set the sizes so we can decide on the screen. We're going to do a width and height override of this of 700 by 900. Again, if you're using my artwork following along, I found this to be nice, but if you're using your own artwork, then adjust it to what you feel you prefer. Okay, then to this we are going to add a border. And straight away we're going to do in that border, we're going to go to our artwork and we're going to use the recipe book 3, 0 padding. There's our brush, recipe book 3. So we have our page. Already it's starting to look a little bit nicer. So now we're going to add a vertical box. So we can keep everything stacked vertically and in line. And our vertical box has some padding. So the padding I've used for vertical box here, the left I've used is 100 and then 50 everything else. Basically what we're looking for is that this is pretty well inside the limits of the page, not overlapping places you don't want it to. We want to make it bigger or smaller, again, up to you. Next thing we're going to add is a horizontal box to our vertical box. And in our horizontal box, we're going to add an image. And we're also going to add a text. Okay. So our image, in this case, we're just going to use it as, I'm going to use this one. And our brush. Now it's a bit big, so we're going to set this back down to 64. It's only a little piece at the top there. Our text block, we're going to write title in here for our page title. I'm just going to copy and paste, save a little bit of time. And I'm going to make it the same color and the same font. And up the font size on this to 40. And there we have our title. Okay. Let me just check, see if we've got any padding on here. We have a little bit of padding on our horizontal box of 20 on the top, just to bring it down a tiny bit. Okay, that. Okay, so now we're going to add 2 more text boxes. Again, if you're going to add more than one, set up all of your settings on the one, and then duplicate it. It just saves you a little bit of messing around. And then we're going to duplicate that, so it makes it a little bit quicker. Now the padding for the top one is 15 and 5. 15 from the left and 5 from the top. And the padding from the bottom I've clicked on the wrong one. 15, 5. And the padding on the bottom is 15, 5, but we've also got 40 on the right. So that should be like that. Compile and save that. And the size for the second one, make the font a little bit smaller. We're going to make this 18. Okay. Make sure they're variable. We're going to call the second one description. And the top one we're going to call, it recipe name. and also make sure that is a variable. So we're done on that recipe name. I'm just checking to make sure we've got no extra. Okay, so we should be fine on that. The next thing we're going to add is a scroll box. A vertical box. And our scroll box has some padding. So it has 15, 20, and 40. Okay. And inside the scroll box, yes, inside the scroll box, we're going to add another vertical box. Now, scroll box. Now, this vertical box has to be a variable. Now, I'm going to call it content underscore VB for vertical box. And we're going to, in here, we're going to have an image. And the image has a few settings. So the image, we're not going to set any brush. So make sure you select your image. But we will have the horizontal alignment to the left and centered. And we're going to set the size to 128 by 128. And we are going to make sure it's a variable. And we're going to call it a food icon image. Underscore img for image. So we have our image there. Then we are going to add another text box. To this same vertical box. Yeah, so I'm just double checking to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. So this text box has, I just want to check the padding on our image. I believe I put some padding on it. I did. So make sure your image is highlighted. Go to your padding. And the padding I put on here is 10 on the top and 20 on the bottom. This is spacings out. Okay. Now in this one, we are going to write this in as ingredients. And set our preferred font and preferred color. And size, have we done that one? I did that a little bit bigger. I did it at 30. No, not 330. Okay. And the padding on that, I've got 5 on the bottom. Now we're going to do a little trick I learned a long time ago. If you want to make a line, something nice and easy, make yourself a size box. And we're going to add that to there. And in the size box, we're going to add a border. Okay. And the size box, we're going to do a width and height override. We'll do a width override of 220 and a height override of 2. And the border, we're simply going to add a brush color in the tint of our favorite color. And if I clear off these, there you see, it gives us a nice underline. I think it works quite well. Okay. And basically what we're going to do then is, because we need just double checking to make sure I haven't got any padding on the border or the box. No, I don't. Okay. So what we're now going to do is we're going to add another vertical box. Yeah. Okay. And this vertical box has a little bit of padding. So I'm going to put 5 at the top and 5 at the bottom. And we are going to make sure that is a variable. We're going to call that ingredients 3b. Make sure you keep compiling and saving. You don't go losing your work or power outage or whatever. And basically what we want to do is, from the text, we'll highlight these. And you want to duplicate them. I won't let me do it. Okay, so we can duplicate the ingredients. But make sure you drag it down. And we can duplicate the size box of the border. Make sure you drag that down. And we can duplicate the ingredients. Make sure you drag that down. So first things is, we called that one ingredient. This one is going to be called utensils. And this one's going to be called utensils. VB. It should have it like that. Then we're also going to do the same again. So duplicate, drag it to the bottom, duplicate, drag it to the bottom, and duplicate, and drag that to the bottom. Okay, and this one is going to be called instructions. Instructions, or you could call it method, whichever terminology you prefer. I do believe in cooking they do call it method, but instructions is good enough. Okay. So once we've got that should all be inside your scroll box. So if you click your little thing in the scroll box, they should all disappear. Now we are going to add a horizontal box. And we're going to add that to the original vertical box that goes below and here. And that has padding, quite a lot of padding settings. So that's 20, tab 10, tab 40, tab 20. I'm pressing the tab key to skip through them, just like you do in a lot of other Windows applications. In here, we're going to add a text. We're going to set our text up with our color and our font. And we're going to say pin recipe. Why do I keep putting 2? And that size is fine. You want to make sure that this text is set there and set to auto, so it will stay to the left hand side. And now we're going to add a checkbox. To the horizontal box. And we're going to make sure the text box is set to fill and set left hand side, so right hand side, so it goes over to the right hand side. Now it looks terrible, so we're going to do quite a few settings for our checkbox. So let's start at the top. Okay, padding is 0. That is correct. Unchecked. Now, style. Checkbox style. So you have a checkbox or toggle button. We're going to have a checkbox. We're going to start with the unchecked image. And we're going to make sure we draw as a rounded box. Tint, we're going to set to 0 in the alpha. Image size, we're going to double that, make that 32. See it there. And we're going to go to our outline settings. And we're going to set our corner radiuses to 4. Our outline color to our color. And the width is to 2. And make sure we select fixed radius. Okay. Now what we can now do is we can copy that style. Copy all. We should be able to then paste it on to there and there. Okay. That should give us that. Sorry, I'm just working down to make sure I'm not missing anything. Now we're going to go to the checked. Okay. So our checked image, we have an image for that. It's going to be our white check mark. We select that. Our image size is going to be 32. Our tint is going to be an alpha of, sorry, our tint is going to be our, in my case, this colour. We're going to draw it as a rounded bar. We still ended up with the same outline settings. And we can go ahead and we can copy the outline settings from here. And paste it here. We still get our outline. We can check that. If we scroll right up to the top, we can change it from unchecked to checked. And you can see we have our thing here. But it's looking a bit grey, but we'll deal with that shortly. Okay, so now we've got our checked image done. We can copy that. Check hovered, paste. Press paste. The undertone we're not going to worry about. Now it's down here somewhere. The hovered foreground color and all of these we're going to uncheck the inherit. You can see it's changing color from red. Why has it gone red? Bear with me, I'm just going to have a quick look on this and I'll come straight back. Okay, I quite simply just changed all of these to white and that got that colour back. Not sure why it was playing up like that, but there you go. So we have our checkbox. I'm going to uncheck it. You see now we have it looks quite nice. When it's unchecked, we've got a nice border. When it's checked, we still have a border, but we also have our check mark. Okay. So let's now look at what else we need. Scroll out. And does this horizontal box have padding? We've done our padding. So we're going to go ahead and add another horizontal box. To our main vertical box, so it goes below this one, down here. And inside here, we're going to add a button. Now we're going to add two buttons, but again, let's set one up and then just duplicate it. So we're going to call this one previous button. We're going to add some text to the button. And we're going to let's sort the text out first. So the text is going to be, let's set the text up in the same style as we have our other text, so our color of choice. Font size is going to say 24. Use our font of choice, and we're going to obviously write it in previous. Now at the moment it looks terrible, it's in that grey background, but we'll soon be sorting that out. So let's go to the button itself. This is where we're going to sort it out. So you have to be careful that you have different styles of the buttons, so you need to make sure you check them all. Okay, so going to be normal. Draws around the box is fine. image is none, but the tint we're going to set to 0. Okay. And the outline settings, I'm going to copy and paste and I'll go over them. We'll click on the outline settings. I think actually they're the same. We're just going to change the tint to our color. And if we zoom in, why are we not seeing them? Okay, use brush transparency. Unclick the use brush transparency because we've made this there. And you see we've now got our name in the border. Quite a nice button. However you want to do it, I tend to make them all the same, except for disabled. So up to you how you do it. For this case, I just want to make them all the same. In hovered, so copy and paste, and then press. You'll still get a sort of pressed effect because of the padding change here. Okay, I'm just going to make sure I didn't do anything with the padding. Nope. Okay, so now we've got our button set up there nicely. We can right click and duplicate the button. We're going to name this one Next Button. And these are going to be used to change pages in your recipe book. Then make sure it's variable. Now with this one, we want to make sure we fill. Click on there, so it goes to the other side. I'm going to check on padding for this horizontal box. The padding for this is 20, 20, 40, 20. So 20, 20, 40, 20. Okay, so you'll end up with something like that. Now, this vertical box, for some reason, is not filling up. Oh, because the scroll box, set the scroll box to fill, and then you'll get these right at the bottom of the page where you want. Compile and save that. That's all we need to do for the layout of this. Right, I was just thinking whether to split this video now or to continue. I think we're going to continue, make it a long video. You can then take your time and go over it and do part by part when you're ready. So let's jump into the graph. In our graph, we are going to make, first of all, I'm just double checking that we've got everything we need. Okay, so first of all, we need to add two variables. What's wrong with me today? Okay, first variable is going to be called the data asset. And that is of our DA recipe that we made before. Make sure it's instant editable, exposed on spawn. And then the second variable is going to be index. And as normal with indexes, that's going to be an integer. And again, instant editable, exposed on spawn. They are the only two variables we need incoming on here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a function. The reason I put it in a function just makes things look neater. We're going to call set, page data. Has no inputs, no outputs, so we don't need to worry. The first thing we do is we're going to drag in our data asset. Drag off of here, we're going to get the name, and we're going to get the description. And get those two things. We're going to look for our recipe name. I'm going to say set text, make sure it is on the bottom, set text bracket text. And do that. We can copy and paste this to there. And you should have one that says description. Choose description. And we set our description. Yeah, it's a nice easy start. We're going to get our data asset again. You can drag off of this one, up to you, but I think it's a little bit neater if you split it up. We'll drag off here, we're going to get icon. And somewhere in here, we do have food icon image. We get that. And we're going to say set brush from soft texture, because remember we made these soft texture, so you can hover over that and it tells you that. And also the colors match. Okay, lovely job. The next thing on here, drag off here to reroute. We're going to get the ingredients list. Actually, I'll keep that there. Get the ingredients list. And we're going to for each loop over this. Now, if you don't have for each loop on a map, like I said before, and you're struggling with it, let me know. There are ways of doing it. You get the keys, for each loop through the keys, and you can do it that way. It's not too much more. Okay, first thing we want to do is check to see if this is valid. So we're doing this valid check. On with the question mark. And then we're also going to get item name. From there. Okay, now we're going to, from here we're going to say create widget. And this is why we made those other ones up first. We're going to get ingredient line. And see, because we exposed these, we've got these available. So the name goes to name, quantity goes to the map value. Okay. We look for our ingredients vertical box, and we say add child, and the child we're going to add is a return value from the create widget. Okay, great. Now we've done that, we are going to, on completed, I'm going to drag in the data asset again. We're going to get instructions. Okay. Basically, we're going to do this, and this. So we need to copy them. I'm going to complete it to there, map to there, and check for this is instruction line, because we're dealing with instructions on the loop body. Map value is, sorry, map key is going to be quantity, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes. And the map value, a little bit different here. So we have to say to string because we can't automatically convert a enum to string, and then we say text, or you could just drag on here, we'll do it for you. We have to do a double conversion on that. And we're looking for our instructions VB, we're adding that to. Make sure we've got instructions here, instructions VB here. And basically I want you to copy these three here, and the four, those four, copy them, place them down here, and completed from here. Get your data asset again, and this time we're going to get our utensil list, and we're going to use the ingredients line again. I think it's fine because they're practically the same. So we can use our ingredients. We can come out here and get name. I need some name. But this time we're going to add it to our utensils VB. Cases at the top there. So basically that's it for that function. So we're using our data asset that we're putting in, and we're populating all of the fields and the boxes that we've put in here earlier on. Okay, most important thing is, which we don't want to forget, is we want to implement the function. No point writing it if we don't use it. And don't worry if you forget that, it's a common thing to do. You get involved in writing a function, then you forget to actually implement it. You can go ahead and delete these two. Okay. Now if we compile it, you'll see some things have changed. We've lost those lines at the top here because they're set to nothing at the moment. Okay, but everything else should be fine. But that's fine, don't worry about it. Okay, so we need to make up some event dispatchers. So we're going to add the first one, which has no inputs. We're going to add one, and we're going to say on next clicked. We're going to add a second one, on previous clicked. Just double checking to make sure there are no inputs or outputs. No. And we're going to add another one, say on pinned checked. Now this one does have some inputs. So the first input we're going to add is quite simply checked. Mark. The second one is going to be index. Type integer. And then the third one is going to be data asset. And that's going to be our DA recipe. Okay, so we have all those. Make sure you compile it. Now, if we go, two ways you can do it. You can either go to here, find your checkbox, and add the on-check state. then I want you to drag in your on-pin check and call. Okay, check is going to go to checked, index to index, and data asset to data asset. Okay, this is an event dispatcher. If you're not sure what an event dispatcher is, and you've not looked at any of my previous tutorials, I've explained it. Basically, if you think of an event dispatcher as a little bit like somebody sending a message on social media, and you click it, send it, it goes out there into the metaverse. People that subscribe to you, i.e. if it's Twitter or X, what it's called now, or Facebook or whatever, people that are following you or subscribe to you will get that message. Anybody else will just ignore it. And basically that's what an event dispatcher is. It's saying, hey, any actor, UI element, anything out there, I've sent this message. If you're following it, and we call that binding to it, then you will do something about it. If not, it just gets ignored. So it's a good way of passing on states. And any of these here, like these events here, they are event dispatchers. Okay, they're written into the engine. Okay. And if we go down to our buttons, previous button, we can add the on-clicked. Next button, we can add the on-clicked. And you guessed it, we're going to call the on next clicked, call that event dispatcher, and on previous clicked, call that. Compile that. I believe that is everything we need to do in our page. Quite a lot, I know, but you'll see how it benefits. What we're going to be doing in this instance is we don't know how many recipes we're going to add. We're using data assets, and remember way back when we did our kitchen manager and stuff like that, we wrote a blueprint function in C++ to get all data assets, which is what we're going to be using here. So basically, we're going to get our assets, it sorts them into alphabetical order, and then it adds them in the list here, and it also adds a page for each one. So it works very dynamically. You've not got loads of empty pages in a book for no reason. You've got, it's just a nice way of doing it. Okay. And we're going to use a widget switcher in our main recipe book to actually turn the pages. So we're going to be adding them to a widget switcher. Okay, so let's get on to our next part. The next part we're going to do is the UI, and we're going to do our recipe book. Okay, I just looked at the time of the video, it's coming up for almost an hour. I'm going to call this video here, we're going to call this part 12A. I'm going to straight away after this record 12B, and if there is one, the C. So that you can carry on yourself if you want to do all three in a row, and they'll all be uploaded within an hour or so of each other, depending on how long it takes to upload. So you will get them all together. So as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, send me a comment if you've got any questions. Go on my Discord, all the links are below. The links for the assets will be below also. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.